Hey friends, I'm Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to Welcome to Whoop Wednesday. That was the 2S Jungle Gym Basher with Walk Snail. Figuring out what KV I want. At the moment, it's on the Flywoo 1002 23,500 kV motors. They don't really perform on 1S. They don't really perform like 23,500. They perform more like 22,000. On 2S, the beginning of that was 60% throttle limit, which, if I do the math, 22,000 times 0.6, that's the equivalent of 13,200 kV, which is not enough. Absolutely not enough. It's almost enough, but it's not. If I'm going to run this on 2S, it's going to have more than that. So then I moved it up to 70% throttle limiting, which 22,000 times 0.7 equals equivalent of 15,400 kV, and that feels great. And of course, there are no motors that are that kV. The motor options are basically 14,000 kV or 19,000 kV. There's like nothing in between. So I'm going to end up doing 19,000 kV, I guess. I'm kind of annoyed at that. So what I'm going to do is one more test. I'm going to move it off of these motors, the Flywoo 1002 23,500s, and I'm going to put it onto RC and Power 1002 22,000 kV motors. I had headed these motors a while back, and on 1S at 100%, and felt no difference whatsoever between the two of them. ButterflyFPV, ButterflyFPV has been unwinding some motors to get us some really cool data. I'm going to put this link into the chat real quick. If you're not subscribed to them, get your asses over there and subscribe for sure. There's a link in the chat. And he unwound both of these motors. No, he didn't. He unwound the Flywoos and the Zings. And the Zings I've also tested, and I felt no difference. The RC and powers that he unwound are the 19,000s. But we can look at these two here. And yeah, these Flywoo Robo 1002 23,500, they are wound differently, appropriately, basically, for that KV. When you compare them to the Zing 1002 22,000, you'll see that the winds are different. The less winds, the higher the KV. And so you can see the Flywoo Robos are 999, and the Zing 1002 22,000s are 91010. I suspect that the RC and Power 1002 22,000s are also wound 91010. So what I assume is going on here is that the Robo 23,500s have less powerful magnets, or thinner magnets, or a bigger air gap than these Zings or the RC and Power 22,000s. That would explain why I can't feel a difference, or I'm just not good enough to feel a difference between the two motors. I'm taking my shoes off. Maggie and I just got back from dance class, and I didn't really have a chance to change or anything like that. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on here. This is actually super interesting here. The happymodel 1002 20,000s are 12 turns, 12, 12, 12. But then the RC and Power 1002 19,000s are 9, 10, 10. That's super interesting, actually, because these RC and Power 1002 19s are turned exactly like the Zing 9, 10, 10. That's weird. That's super weird, actually. That this is the amount of turns that a 22,000 kV. I'm sure Butterfly didn't. I'm sure he knows what the can says. Yeah, that's weird. We need to send him a RC and Power 1002 22,000 for him to do this on. That's super weird. I didn't notice that until just now. We can also see some things. So I really just dove right into this. Well, fuck it. Let's just keep going. I've been wanting to talk about this. I've been wanting to talk about this really bad. I started to talk about it on Monday night stream, but I said, you know what? Hold on. And my brain was not braining Monday night. And I said we'd talk about it more on Whoop Wednesday, because these are Whoop specific motors. So let's keep going. Again, the less turns, the higher the KV. Less turns means less resistance, and that's how you get the higher KV. So what we should see, Butterfly has organized these highest KV to lowest KV. What we should see is the number of turns continue to go up. 999, 10, 10, 10, 11, 11, 11, 12, something like that. This is super weird that these RC and Power 19,000s are wound the same as the Zing 22,000s, almost the same as the Robo 23,500s. And then, so here's the other thing that's super important with the winding of the motors is the thickness of the enameled wire that it's wound with. And what you should see is the thickness of the winding, the thickness of the wire go up with the KV. Less turns means less copper, and you don't want that. So you increase the thickness of the wire so that you don't lose copper as you go higher in kV. The kV measurement is done with no load on the motor, no propeller, just the bell. And so you can wind a motor for 1 billion kV, but then once you put a prop on it, it's not going to perform worth a shit unless you have spec'd the thickness of the copper out properly, right? When a motor manufacturer, so they don't, motor manufacturers don't wind these by hand. They have a big fancy machine that does it, and when they load that machine up with wire, with the enameled wire, it's really easy for them to just load it up with the thickest possible wire for their lowest kV, which is the most amount of turns, and then wind a whole bunch of those motors, right? Like with Tiny Whoops, we demand that this stuff be cheaper than big stuff, right? Because smaller must be cheaper, but we're not really paying for the material so much as we're paying for like the time and the R&D and all that shit, right? So what I suspect and what it looks like here is happening with a bunch of these is they're doing exactly that. They're loading the machine up with, in this case, 0.22 millimeter wire, right? 0.22. This one looks like it might be 0.24, but I really doubt it. The way that these robos perform, they perform like they have 0.22 wire on them. And so, yeah, they set the machine up for the lowest kV, run all those stators, and then, hey, now we're going to do, so that's 19,000 kV, for example. And they're like, well, now we got to wind, we're also going to sell this motor in 22,000 kV. Just tell it to do 1 less wind or 2 less winds. We're not going to retool the machine because we're selling these motors so cheap. And so it kind of looks like sort of that's what's going on here, or what it also could be. The reason why I say that is that they've got, we got to, at this point, we got to stop looking at kV and we got to look at the number of turns, right? So the least possible number of the most possible number of turns is where we're gonna be able to squeeze is typically where they're gonna have to run thinner wire. And so 12, 12, 12 here for the 20,000 kV Happy Model 1002s, right? 12 is the maximum number of turns, so that should be the thinnest wire. But it's not. We're seeing this 0.22 millimeter wire all over the damn place, right? So even with 12 turns, Happy Model managed to do 0.22 millimeter thick wire. This RC in Power, with not 12, but with 9, 10, 10 turns, they should, in theory, be able to run a 0.23 or a 0.24 or a 0.25 millimeter enameled wire. Maybe they don't make wire in those diameters. I don't know, right? But, I mean, we see 0.24 here. We see 0.24 millimeter wire here on this VCI Vulcan. So, obviously, someone makes 0.24. Let's see what else. Let's actually look at all the thicknesses of these wires. 0.22, 0.24, 0.22 to 0.24, 0.24, 0.27 to 0.3, 0.22, 0.24. So it looks like they definitely make 0.22 millimeters and 0.24 millimeters. So, yeah, in theory, these 9, 10, 10 motors, you would think they'd be able to put 0.24 millimeter wire in it. Maybe on this Flywoo Robo they have. But I don't know. It's Butterfly is doing this, I'm sure, with a pair of calipers, and that's pretty good, but it's really, we need these specs from the motor manufacturers, right? Like the worthless thrust charts and the worthless other shit that they have in their specifications are a complete waste of time. This is the shit that we need to know. they're either not telling us this because they're afraid that the other motor manufacturers are going to steal the specs, or I don't know, they just don't. I don't know why they're not telling us this shit, but this is really what we need to know. We need to know the number of turns. We need to know the thickness of the wire, because that's how we can actually compare these motors to one another. Massive shout out to ButterflyFPV for tearing apart a whole bunch of these motors to kind of figure this out. The other thing is, you know, this enameled wire, it's probably not all coming from the same place, and like the thickness of the actual enamel on the outside could be, you know, like the actual, we don't care about the thickness of the enamel, we care about the thickness of the copper. This is why we need this spec from the motor manufacturers. So, you know, him measuring this with calipers is great, and it's the best he can possibly do, but we could have a situation here where, you know, one of these has a wire with thicker enamel, and then the actual copper is thinner. And what we need to know is the gauge of the actual wire itself, the copper itself. But really, really, really interesting stuff here. This is the strangest thing here. This 9-10-10 on a 19,000 kV motor is nuts. I wonder if the RC and Power 1002 22,000s are even less turns, because if they're less turns, they're going to be closer to this Flywheel Robo 23,500. I also really wonder about the thickness of the wire on the higher kV. So yeah, I don't know. Very cool stuff though. The rest of this, the 802 comparison is cool. This 803 comparison is kind of interesting, but there's such a mega difference in kV between these two, 27,000 versus 19,000. But what's ultra weird is that even though the kV is so different, the number of turns are exactly the same. But there are two different ways you can see here, delta versus WYE. There are two different ways to wind the stators. If you Google it, it'll give you a little illustration. I don't know how to put it into words. I've Googled it once or twice. So I am assuming that this WYE termination winding style is going to turn lower kV, because otherwise this doesn't make any sense. The other thing that's wild here is that the higher kV mode, even though it's the same number of turns, the VCI motor is a 0.24 enamel wire, and the sub 250 is only a 0.22. Maybe there's something about the way that it's wound, but that prevents that, but I doubt it. So this is very strange. Yeah, I don't understand how they can be so drastically different in kV, but they're both 666 in terms of the turns per phase. Down here on the 802s, some really cool stuff is kind of going on as well. All WYE termination. I don't. Maybe the WYE termination is required for an 802 because it's smaller, and then on the 1002 they can go to this delta configuration, because look, all of the 1002s are wound that way, and then these 803s you got 1 and 1, but then the 802s it's all WYE. So that's kind of interesting. We've got from 25,000 kV to 22 to 20 to 19, and this looks much more normal. 777, 888, 998, 91010. So that makes total sense. But, well, no, I guess, yeah, the thickness of the wire also makes sense. 777, it's 0.27 of a millimeter to 0.3. And then the rest of these look like they're 0.22 or 0.24. So, yeah, the rest of this does kind of make sense. But this... where is it? Where's the magical happy model motor? Oh, here it is. This happy model motor, it's a massive jump in the thickness of the enameled wire. You see the 9-10-10 is 0.22 to 0.24. The 998 is the same, 0.22 to 0.24. The 888 is up to a solid 0.24. But then look at this. So we've gone, 0.02. We've gone up by 0.02, but the turns have only changed. The turns have changed from 10 to 9 to 8. And now just with one less turn, the thickness of the wire has gone all the way up to 0.27, 0.30. This is a motor that is going to make more power. Yes, it's got a higher KV, but it's going to make drastically more power than these motors because of how much more copper is on the stator because of this big-ass jump in the thickness of the wire. I really would love to see some testing of the even higher KV motors, the 27,000s, the 30,000s, the 33,000s, to see what happens here and to see what happens here. So yeah, I'm actually, when I have a second, I'm going to contact Jesse from Tiny Whoop and say, hey man, Butterfly is doing some really cool stuff. Any chance you can send him one of a whole bunch of different motors, or do you have these specs? And would you be willing to share these specs? The problem's going to be that Butterfly has a way that he's been measuring this stuff, right? Like a set of digital calipers, for example. If Jesse just shares the specs with me, it might not be... it might not line up with these, but if he can share the specs with me from a bunch of these motors, it'll be super helpful. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not willing to. That's totally fine. But yeah, interesting stuff. Here's a perfect example of where like mixing results from two different people might not really work. I don't know how to say that, but this other person. RC and Power 802, 22,000 kV, right? We've got another 22,000 kV motor here from happymodel. And if you look, 0.24 of a millimeter enameled wire is what is the measurement that Butterfly got. But then 0.15 millimeter enameled wire. So between Butterfly and, I'm going to call him Andis, I'm going to call him Andis, somebody's calipers are off. And we've even got, like, we can even see the turns are the same, right? The turns are correct, right? 9 turn, 998, 0.22, 0.24, 0.15. So somebody's caliper is not right, or one of them is measuring the wire in a different, I don't know how you would measure it in a different way, but yeah. Really, really interesting stuff, though. Some of this I legitimately did not realize. Like I've talked to Ryan Harrell a ton about this stuff, and he's mentioned a lot of this, but I just, yeah, I've never seen it broken out on a bunch of different motors like this, which really kind of explains what's going on in a really nice way. Also, this happymodel, this is the old school happymodel 802 25,000. This is the one that's been out forever. It's a 2-piece bell, old school shit. A lot of people, I didn't necessarily notice this, but whatever. A lot of people have said that this motor has made more power than most other 802s. And this big jump in the thickness of the enameled wire could absolutely explain why that is the case. So yeah, I'm going to snag myself a fresh set of these 802 25,000s and do a little bit of testing. You know, there's a chance. See, what I really want to see, though, because this is a happymodel motor, right? This is a happymodel 802 25,000. The iGao motors, the iGao 802 27,000s may very well have that same thickness of wire, or potentially even thicker. So like what I would really like to see is Butterfly test the iGao 27,000s, the 802 30,000s, and the new Imoptera, whatever they're called, 33,000s, to see what happens with the turns, but mainly with the thickness of the copper. I'm starting to really feel like the thickness of the copper is one of the major things, because that copper is what does the work in terms of producing power on these things. And then, of course, I would also love to see 702s, right? Because what we might find, and what I think we're kind of starting to see here, right, is... okay, so perfect example here. Perfect example between these two motors, right? Zing 1002, 22,000 kV, happymodel 1002, 20,000 kV. We're seeing 9, 10, 10 on the turns, and then 12, 12, 12, yet they both have the same thickness of wire. Maybe the enamel coating is thicker on this one here, right? And maybe the actual amount of copper in there is different, but this should not be. These two motors should not have the same gauge of wire. This with 12 turns, if this is correct, 0.22, this 9, 10, 10 almost should certainly have like 0.24. Maybe they just can't fit it, but I don't know. It feels like it should. So what this info can potentially like help us figure out is, especially like if we've got, well, we have three, we have two 1002 22,000s. We have the RC in power, we have the Zing, and then we also have the Flywoo Robo 23,500, which performs just like the 22,000. And this is what we can start to kind of get a little bit of a better idea of why that is. Why is it that this higher kV motor? I mean, I guess it kind of doesn't matter, because if you fly the motor and it makes less power, even though it has a higher kV, who cares? Or if it has the same power, like who cares? But it's hard. It's hard to tell the difference between these things. And you know, when we want to pick a best 1002 22,000 kV motor, this is something that might help us do that. But yeah, in the end, you put the motors on, you fly them. If it makes noticeably more power, great, that's your new motor. If it makes the same power, which motor do you like the color of better? Or which one are you getting more runtime from? I wonder if more copper in there is more efficient. Because it's not all about power, right? But I mean, efficiency is usually super similar. But yeah, I won't go nuts thinking about that. Welcome, friends. Troy Pulag was first in the chat. Weber FPV Bergeron. Bergeron with a 5 Canadian Californian dollars super chat. He says, got your mail today. Thank you so much. Thank you, brother, for the support. Much appreciated. This is a completely crowdfunded thing that I've got going here. This way, when I review stuff, you don't have to worry about like, oh, well, he was sent that from X, Y, or Z company. He just doesn't want to trash it because he doesn't want to ruin the relationship. If any company wants to send me something, I explain to them very clearly. If this sucks, I'm going to tell a couple of thousand people that it sucks. If you're not okay with that, don't send it. Some companies then don't send me stuff. Most companies do. Most companies are willing to go for it. And so, yeah, super chats, PayPal's, CiottiFPV.com has a million ways that you can support me. Some of them are free. Some of them are going to cost you a couple of bucks. If you hang out here enough, I guarantee you that I'm going to save you a ton of money by preventing you from buying garbage that I've tested for you. If you don't mind, you can kick a couple of those dollars my way. It's going to help me continue to do this forever. With the lack of streams, I guess, last week, and I was sick a couple of weeks before that, my Patreon took a bit of a bath here. So if you've got a couple extra dollars a month, my Patreon is amazing. It's the best way to support me. For $3 a month, which is 10 cents a day, you can jump on there, get access to all of the technical articles that I have up there on the Patreon channel itself. You'll get a YouTube playlist with all kinds of good stuff on it. Sketchy flying, I don't want to be public, Patreon only live streams, Gran Turismo 7 stuff that just kind of screwing around. You're going to get access to the full Discord channel, not just the public stuff. And there's some other stuff that I'm sure that I'm forgetting. For $5 a month, you can get in on giveaways. The first Monday of every month, I do 4 giveaways. 3 of those are Patreon-specific giveaways. So for $5 a month, you can get in on Tiny Whoop and Toothpick giveaways every month. For $10 a month, you can get in on 3-inch micro brushless or Cinewoop giveaways. For $20 a month, 5-inch giveaways. For $30 a month, $1 a day, you can get in on all those giveaways. And those folks win lots of stuff. When you win, it's anywhere from $50 to $100 worth of stuff. And that's going to cover a whole bunch of months of Patreon. So, yeah, whatever you got, bring it on. Jump into the Patreon. It's going to help me keep doing this, and we'll keep learning and improving and flying better and building better and all the good stuff together. There's a whole bunch of affiliate links over on my website as well. There's an Etsy store. There's a Fiverr page. There's a Teespring page. Lots of different ways you can support me. Buy yourself something nice. Click the affiliate links. Change your bookmarks to the affiliate links so you don't even have to think about clicking on them. You do have to hit affiliate links every time after you check out of a website. When you check out, it clears out the creator's code that was in there. So easiest thing to do is change your bookmarks over. I have a ton of different affiliate links. It helps out a whole lot. Thank you guys very much. Curtis Hayes, Walter Van Den Ord, Frank Nicholas, Bob Bruce, Daniel 1964, Mick Mucus, Crom, Walter, Render, Volusia, Tongue Out FPV, Curtis Hayes, Hockey Rounds, Notice, Gusto, Mick Mucus, Max L, 16-bit FPV. I'm going to leave it there. If you want the gangly man to say your name, either tag me or come in early. By tagging me, all you got to do is type CiottiFPV, no space. You can put an @ you don't have to. It's going to light up an orange. You can type each other's name. If you type into your message Render, for Render, his own name is going to light up an orange. He'll see that message. He'll reply back to you. So if you're talking to each other, type each other's names, spell them right, put the spaces in the right spots, and it'll light up an orange. If you want to talk to me, type my name. I read every single comment that I've been tagged in. Super chats as well. Obviously, your comment's going to get read. Mick Bucas says, hi, Aaron, Ciotti, Scooby, and all the ships at sea. Enjoy your last 4th of July as a democracy. I hope you're not right, but I have a funny feeling that you are, my friend. Rob Axelson says, hola! Scotty Scott says, what's up, gangly drones? You too, CiottiFPV. WTF is a kilometer says, know anything about the Beta 65X 2S frame Jesse has listed? No. A 2S 65mm frame? What the hell's that about? I'm intrigued. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh no, that's 75. Well, one thing I can tell you is this is BetaFPV's old school frame design. So if you want some of these, get them now. Yeah, look at this. This frame has been extinct for years, but it was the original 2S brushless frame made by BetaFPV. They simply do not break. Interesting. Yeah, I don't think they make this anymore, so if you want this, get it. I don't think you should get it, though, because 2S on a 65mm rig is going to be way too heavy. If you're going to go down this road, definitely get 260 mAh batteries for it. You'll have some chance at it not being way too heavy. But yeah, I don't know about this. I definitely don't recommend this unless you want to make like a freak show project. Look, the 1S 65mm builds with the high kV motors, the 36,000 kVs from Tiny Whoop or the 40,000 kVs from Weebleed, make all the power you'll ever need. Like, I really don't see a point in going to 2S. I guess maybe unless you're doing like long range, you would definitely get better efficiency from 2S. As we go up in voltage, the efficiency always goes up. So yeah, I don't know if you're doing a long range Tiny Whoop, maybe this is a good thing, but for everything else, no. 65mm Tiny Whoops are 1S. They really perform well when they're super lightweight, and 1S is just that. So yeah, interesting stuff, but I don't recommend it. You do you, but yeah, that's going to be one hell of a heavy 65mm rig. And like, yeah, but it being so heavy and so small, like when you come off the throttle, it's going to fall out of the sky like a sack of hammers. So yeah, that's my main concern with a build like that. But I'm sure someone somewhere has a great reason to do it. So buy a bunch of them if you want to do that, because once these are sold out, I doubt you're ever going to see them again. Jesse has found new old stock, basically, of a couple of different old school BetaFPV frames, and this is one of them. I don't even know about this one. I knew about the 1S version, which I tested, and it was okay. But the new 65 mil frames that we have are really, really good. So yeah, I don't know. This is the other one that I'm talking about. This is the old school, super, super, super durable frame. The problem with the frame, though, like, yes, the frame is really durable. It's really durable because of how squishy and soft it is. And so the problem is that your propellers take a beating because the ducts just, like, they're so soft that they just fold in. And so, yeah, I don't know. I did not have great luck with this frame. But, I mean, it's $8. If you're doing an order on Tiny Whoop, snag one for funsies. It's got these cool little, it's got these cool little thingies on the corners, which will, when you're upside down, it'll make it sit up a little bit higher. So if you have a problem turtle moding or something like that, yeah, maybe that's the answer. You can also go with the Weebleed FPV crown frame. It's got some little spikes on the outside. Or if you just want to stab somebody in the eye. Oh, I didn't read the rest of the comment. Know anything about the Beta 2S room? Jesse has listed. Ordered RS 0802s. happymodel SuperX AIO for a walk snail build. Hopefully it'll be easier to fly inside than my Module 8 walk snail. It certainly will, because the Module 8 walk snail setup is going to be just unbelievably heavy. And so going from 85 millimeters motor to motor with a 2-inch prop down to 65 motor to motor with a 1.2-inch prop is going to reduce the weight significantly. You're going to add some of that weight back with 2S. That's interesting. So you're doing a 65 millimeter walk snail build, and you're going to do it 2S. Huh. That's pretty cool. That might get you around the issue with the super high KV 1S walk snail builds, where if you just hang full throttle for like a half a second or 3/4 of a second, it'll brown the walk snail VTX out. Huh. The problem is going to be the weight, right? So I'll be interested to see what that weighs. The other problem with 2S is that I don't really trust any of these AIOs. Like, all of these Tiny Whoop AIOs are kind of junk. So I don't really know if I trust any of these AIOs on 2S. I hope that this one lasts in this rig. We're 5 batteries in and it hasn't blown up yet, so it's a good starting point. But yeah, that's a super interesting build, man. Please let me know what that weighs. For me, for flying inside the house, it's probably going to be too heavy. Yes, the power is going to be great, but you don't need more power inside the house. You need less weight. We've got plenty of power available to us on the like I said, on the 40,000 kV motors, on the 36,000 kV motors. Power's not a problem, even with the walk snail setup. If you're building it as an inside and outside rig, the 2S is very interesting, because I think it'll prevent the thing from browning the VTX out, like the 1S setups do. But for inside the house, unless your house is absolutely gigantic, or you're flying in a massive warehouse, or a hanger or something like that, you're not going to be able to sit full throttle long enough to brown the VTX out. So, yeah, 2S loses some of its purpose in that respect. But that's a very cool build. Yeah, let me know what that thing weighs once it's done. I'm super interested. Render says, so now does anybody know what size E-clips for the happymodel 0702s? Your 2X journey has left me in the dust, but it's been fun to watch. All of these, not all, but most of these motors have 1.5 millimeter motor shafts down below inside the stator, out through the bottom. So that's basically what you need to know. That's basically the C-clip that you need, is a 1.5 millimeter inner diameter C-clip. I don't know what the outer diameter is, though. But you're going to break motors, so just stop throwing motors away. Tear your motors apart before you throw and save those C-clips, and you'll have them. Or E-clips, or whatever the hell you want to call them. You know exactly what I mean when I say C-clips. Cloudhopper with a $5 super chat. He says, thanks for telling us about Butterfly. I joined his Whoop micro drone motor rewinding group on Facebook. So much fun stuff. What? I didn't know that was a thing. Hold on. Search for ButterflyFPV motor. Maybe that'll find it. Whoa. That's cool looking. They look like little motors. I'm looking for a group. Give me the group. What's the name of the group? Cloudhopper. Yeah, what's the name of the group? That's super interesting stuff. I'm going to join the group just to steal info from it. From other people's hard work. Notice says, for the uninitiated, what does the termination spec mean? Motor winding termination types. No, let's go stator winding delta versus, what is it? WYE versus WYE. I know that there's an image somewhere. Is that it? Yep, there you go. Star versus delta. There you go. Hey guys. Oh, for God's sakes, Jim! Alright, well, that's just his thumbnail. But, yeah, it's a different way of winding it. I don't know a ton about it, if I'm completely honest. But if you do this Google search, the circuit supply bouncers with 3 phases. The major difference is the number of nodes. Delta winding have 3 nodes. Tell us the performance difference. Someone make it easier for us. Mike Holt. Pros and cons. Here we go. No. Stop. No. No pop-ups. Alright, so he asked the question. Can we get a quick answer, maybe? No power. Here, interesting. There's no power output advantage when connected Delta. Quick answer. Winding current is unchanged. Phase current, blah, blah, blah. Only advantage. Nature of the load. Motor just confers. Yeah, I don't know. If somebody knows, leave it in the chat. Tag me, and I will read your chat comment. Frank Nicholas says, strip the enamel from the wire for a decent length and then measure the diameter of the copper. Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, how do you know? Yeah, I mean, that would be great. But, like, I would be... A, how do you strip the enamel? Are you stripping it with, like, an X-Acto knife? And then in that case, like, how do you know you're perfectly through the enamel and you're not into the copper, right? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not doing the testing, so it would be great if there was, like, a chemical to strip the enamel off. But, you know, I'm not doing the testing, and I'm not going to, like, hey, Butterfly, do a whole bunch more work. You know, the fact that he's ripped apart a dozen or so motors for the good of the community is amazing in itself. You're obviously right, Frank, but yeah. Walter says, I had issues with my laser printer. It started talking through the AliExpress chat with the producer. If you say smart things, you're directed to a deciding part of the factory. I think Walter might be on acid tonight. That is the strangest chat comment I've ever seen. Justin, I love you, Walter. Justin Bates says they likely won't provide those specs because they don't want customers to easily be able to compare specs. Provides them more flexibility to make changes during manufacturers. Yeah, there's a million reasons that they probably won't provide the specs. But what they need to understand is that they're not... just provide the fucking specs. Like, if somebody wants to rip you off, they're going to spend $20 on one of your motors and just tear it apart. Like... you know, like, everybody rips everybody off all the time forever, and so this whole, like, oh, I'm gonna hide the specs and make it harder, like, no, you're not. You're gonna fuck us over as the consumers that are trying to... It's just annoying. Juju, if you're gonna @tag me, make sure you do CiottiFPV. I just happened to see it. Juju says, I'm 17 and about to spend $700 on a full ready-to-fly walk snail kit. A guy bought it new from Rotorai. Is it worth it? In my opinion, no. In my opinion, buying ready-to-fly stuff doesn't really make any sense. You're gonna have to learn to build at some point anyway. You might as well do that right now. That being said, my first rig was a bind and fly. I bought it because I thought, oh, I'll never be able to understand how these things are wired. At least if I buy it like this, I'll be able to see how it's wired, and then I'll just have to repair it. And then the next rig I built from scratch. Look, there's so many resources here on YouTube for you to learn how to build this stuff. It's just, you don't need to buy a ready-to-fly for your first rig. Yeah, and not to mention that you're going to break it and then you're going to have to rip it all apart anyway, right? So, like, if you've built it, then you'll know how to tear it apart. The first time you get it ready to fly, and the tendency is to, like, be really, really careful and, like, oh my god, I don't want to break this because I don't know how to repair it. And then when you do finally break it, you're like, shit! And there's this, like, fear and uncertainty and doubt, and so, like, to me... easy for me to say, right? Like, having been in the hobby for 8 years, but in terms of ripping the Band-Aid off, because this is a super DIY hobby, and the only way to stay in FPV is to do this work yourself, you might as well rip that Band-Aid off now, and you can and just scratch build your first rig. There's no right or wrong answer. Everybody that you ask this question is going to have a slightly different answer, and I can totally see both sides of it. Because, like, there's also the element of, like, if you want to hook yourself on FPV, getting up in the air right away is a good way to do that. Here's the problem with that, is that, like, when you suck, it's not that... It's still kind of fun to fly, but it's not as fun to fly as it's going to be once you're a year into this. Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer. 700 on a full ready-to-fly walk snail kit. I mean, look, I don't know what's in that kit, but if you look up all of the stuff that's in that kit, and it's worth like $1,200, let's say, 700 is a hell of a deal, and so just jump on it. Buying used stuff in FPV, I mean, just in general, buying used stuff, you tend to get a really good deal. You just have to understand, though, that people are selling it for a reason, right? They're not selling it. they're either selling it because they're getting out of the hobby, and that's what you want to look for, or they're selling it because it sucks, and that's the worry. Or there's something wrong with it, right? And like you have very little protection when you have no protection when you're. Well, it depends on how you pay, of course, but yeah. So just be wary of that. In some situations, people are selling shit for a reason, and they're just trying to dump it and offload it, and that's when you can, even though you're getting a good deal, if the shit's blown up or ain't working right, it's no longer a good deal. So just keep that sort of in mind. Look up what all of the stuff that he's selling would cost new, and that's how you should kind of make the decision. I'm a huge fan of buying used stuff, but in FPV, it's at this point for me, like, I want only very specific stuff, so that very specific stuff tends to not be for sale. Getting started in FPV, buying like people's stuff that the best thing is when somebody's getting out of the hobby, because they know that they're not going to get all the value out of it, and so you can get really, really, really good deals. But again, just understand that it might not work at all, or there might be something terminally wrong with it. And it's super easy to just be like, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know the gyro was going. I was selling it because it flew like shit. Right? So, yeah, be careful there. Sorry I don't have a direct answer, but there kind of isn't a direct answer to that. It really depends on a lot of different stuff. So, yeah, I guess my direct answer would be if it's really cheap for what you're getting, maybe do it. If it's not a massive discount, I would not do it, because you just don't know what you're going to get. There's a reason that he's getting rid of it. Maybe he's actually being honest, he or she. Maybe they're actually being honest. Maybe they're not. You just don't know when you're dealing with strangers on the internet. I hate the way tiny whoops look when they get all grassed up. One of the other reasons I don't like flying tiny whoops outside is because the ducts get all green every single time you crash in the grass, and it just looks awful. But don't be like me. Fly your shit everywhere. I actually, to be honest, I like flying tiny whoops outside, just not over the grass. Like, when I'm flying them over the grass, there's not enough obstacles or cool things to kind of, like, fly around. If I'm flying a tiny whoop outside, I want to be flying over concrete or, like, marble or in a hotel or something. You know what I mean? That's the proper outdoor tiny whoop experience, in my opinion. By the way, the beginning of the live stream, I think I already said this, was this guy flying with 2 different motor limits to lock down the what KV I want on the set of the next set of motors that I get for this. And it's looking like it's going to be 19,000 KV. It's looking like I'm going to get those RC and Power 1002 19,000s with that weird 998, I think it was, setup of turns. So yeah, that'll be cool. I won't have to motor limit them quite so far down, and if I ever need a bunch more power, I'll have it available to me. The one step lower KV is 14,000, and from what I'm seeing when I looking at the motor limit that I have now, that might not be quite enough. So yeah, I would rather have 19,000 and then limit it to like 80% than 14,000 and have it at 100% and not have enough RPM. Also, by getting motors that are too high of a KV and then motor limiting down, you can do stuff like run lower pitch props and then turn the RPM up to get the same amount of power out of them. I'm already running sort of like, the least pitchy, a bi-blade, right? It's so the least number of blades, and it's not very pitchy. It's a 1610, so the pitch is only 10. That's fairly low pitch. But yeah, there is another set of propellers that I've been dying to test. These are the sub 250 40 millimeter 1.5 millimeter shaft 1.6 inch props. And I will be testing these soon, But first, I'm going to test these on the 1S setups, and then the 2S later. You cannot get these motors from HQ. You can get them from HQ, but these are not like... To get the only 1.5mm motor shaft, 1.6-inch bi-blades that HQ makes are this sub 250 designation of them. You will not find an HQ 40mm, 1.5mm motor shaft propeller. So if you want to test these, that's the only way to get them, is to get them as sub 250 props. They come in that pretty cool green color. Walter says, if you have good arguments, they want to listen. I talk to their development and marketing. LOL. Who's they, Walter? Who's they? Cloudhopper says, here we go. Cloudhopper says, Delta gives 1.7 times faster KV than WIE for the same winding number. Very cool. Thank you, dude. So, let's take a look at that. Let's test that. We can test that, that assertion. Delta gives 1.7 times extra KV. So Delta is higher KV. So 9. So let's look at something that's WIE versus Delta. This will be cool. All right, 9. Here we go. Okay, great. So happymodel EX802 19,000 KV is 91010 in WIE. And then we've got an RC in power, which is 91010, which is 19,000 KV as well, but Delta. Let's check another one. 12, 12, 12, 12, 9, 10, 10, 9, 9, 9. Do we have any 12, 12, 12s down here? No, we don't. This RC in power motor is super weird, though. Hold on. 9, 10, 10. Here. Let's check this one. Zing 1002 22,000 is a 9, 10, 10. So 22,000 kV 9, 10, 10 Delta 9, 10, 10 happymodel EXO is 19,000. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about motors to be able to dive into that. What I do know, though, is that there are probably other factors. The KV is not, obviously, as we're seeing here, it is not only determined by Delta versus WIE and the number of turns. It probably also has to do with it definitely has to do with the size of the stator, because a bigger stator is going to push harder and make more power. Although we're seeing the opposite of that. Cloudhopper says Delta gives 1.7 times higher KV. And we're definitely not seeing that. Yeah, I don't know. There's more to there's more to it. There's a lot of different elements of motor design which affect their performance. Paulie New says stronger magnets makes for lower KV, doesn't it? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I wouldn't think so, but I don't know. Even if it makes for a lower KV, it definitely doesn't make for less power. So, yeah, stronger magnets are almost always a good thing, so long as it doesn't make it crazy notchy and all that nonsense. Juju said, we got that. Cloudhopper says, when you start measuring that tiny of a wire, standard digital calipers have a wide tolerance. Yeah, that's what we're seeing with like the 0.22 to 0.24 millimeter. Cloudhopper is, sorry, not Cloudhopper. Butterfly is telling us like, hey, I'm not quite sure if it's 0.22 or 0.24, but what he's doing here is super valuable. Walter says, sell your knowledge. I am. That's what I do for a living, my friend. Kiz Bartlett's in the house. What's up, homie? I haven't seen you in a while. He says, I know you work closely with Bardwell. Do you have any comments on the shift to unusual machines supporting direct drone strikes? Yeah, it sucks, man. I mean, but it has nothing to do with Joshua. He has very little to do with Rotor Riot and nothing to do with Unusual Machines or any of the other companies involved in that bullshit. But But yeah, man, it sucks really bad that like Red Cat and Unusual Machines and all them are getting tied in with killing people through the use of drones. Like that's terrible for the FPV hobbyist community. But hey, you know, welcome to capitalism. Welcome to capitalism, right? Like fuck everything, just make as much money and power as possible. So, yeah. It sucks, but ain't shit we can do about it. We just, I don't know. It sucks. It sucks, but it has absolutely nothing to do with Joshua. Don't rope Joshua into that at all. Has nothing to do with him. Striker says, "Hey HYD." Striker also says that he's overwhelmed about the Rotorite thing. Other people don't like it, so you're gonna boycott Rotor Riot. Kiz Bartlett says, "Don't go down that route." LOL. That was at 10:28. I wonder what I was talking about at 10:28. Striker says, "Because of that, potentially less Rampage attendance." I doubt it. Rampage is such a cool event that the people that can afford to go are gonna go. But kind of is what it is. Can I help you, sir? This dog is so brambled up. He keeps going in the bramble. I don't even know if they're called brambles. They're like the little round bastards that have the little spikes on the outside that when the dogs go in them, they get stuck to their fur. They're all over. He's just, I'm picking like 5-6 a day out of his stupid little beard. And then he just goes out and gets a whole bunch more. I think they're called brambles, aren't they? And he hates when I pull them out. Like I'm pulling one out right now. He hates it. They're these things. I'll show you. Here, they're these things. What's that? Is that a bramble? See it? See the little spiky bastards? Is that a bramble? I don't know what it is. Stop it! Stop it! Don't be a bad boy. Just be a good boy. Just stay here. Help me earn some money, Teddy. I got another one. Stop it. Let me get it out. Stop licking, dog. Got one. Do you want this dog to be able to eat? If so, head on over to CiottiFPV.com. Join my Patreon. All Patreon money goes directly into this dog's mouth. So if you want Teddy Spaghetti to live, support me. I'm hungry. Help me eat. This gangly man won't buy me food. Help us. Help us stay alive. You don't want my death to be on your conscience, do you? If you're already on Patreon, why not jump up a tier? And then I can eat more and have more toys. Thank you, Teddy, for that public service announcement. Oh, God. Where are we at here? Hold on. YouTube just did the thing. Scrolling back up. Wow. Okay. I'm way behind in chat. Let's go fast through chat. Striker says, "To be real feud, I dream big. One of the next Murders FPV RA uptime. Future so uncertain now. Jbo888 says, I feel terrible. I did an AliExpress order. Didn't realize you had affiliate link. It's all good, brother. It's broken, actually. My AliExpress affiliate link is broken. So even if you had remembered, you'd have been, you wouldn't have been able to. I got to fix it. Nick Bucas says, missed you, my man, while you were in New York. Did anyone mistake you for Richard Gadd? Nobody did. All Drizzle says, how do you like the ultralight cockroach? It's great. You just have to get the white one. The black one breaks like immediately. The white one is infinitely more durable. And yeah, it's been absolutely awesome. I wish that it had the little hooks so that I could use it for the RC drift car chasing rigs. But, you know, they made it absolutely as light as possible, so I get it. McBucas says, stepping on a crown frame barefoot will wake you up sans caffeine. Yeah, for sure. Brian Anderson says, I've got 3 HDLRC Spectre 2S flight controllers up and running for a good 40 batteries apiece thus far. Nice. Very cool. HDLRC Spectre 2S. That's really good to know. Oh, cool. And it even reduces on the sides here. That's pretty slick. UFL for, all right, so what is this? This is VTX built in and ELRS built in? No. There's oh yeah, there it is. There it is. So there's the ceramic tower antenna. So ELRS built in, VTX built in. So yeah, if you're going to do a 2S analog build, this might be a good option for you. $75 ain't that bad. It's got motor plugs. That's cool. God only knows. So the location of these motor plugs is a little bit different than where than where BetaFPV and happymodel put them. So there's a chance that the location of these motor plugs might interfere with the frame that you're looking to run. You're probably okay, though. Most frames have some space where those are. But just so you know, that's something that we run into all the time. These manufacturers refuse to standardize anything. And the motor plugs sit off the bottom of the AIO quite a bit. So that's, yeah, you should be okay, but just kind of keep that in mind. This UFL location for the VTX antenna is pretty good. This ceramic antenna location is pretty bad. This ceramic ELRS antenna will not work with the Mobula 6 canopy. I also don't think that it'll work with the McStinky canopy. So what I would do is just break it off and put a piece of wire to replace it with. That's a fairly easy thing to do. But yeah, out of the box, this ceramic antenna location sucks. And you're going to have to deal with that. Where the hell are the battery pads? There they are. Battery pads are down off on the side. That's a pretty normal location, so that looks pretty good. But yeah, this ceramic antenna is in a stupid position. That was a dumb thing for them to do. So you're going to either have to remove it and put a piece of wire, which will be lighter, more durable, and give you better signal, as long as it's the correct length. Or, yeah, I don't know what the hell canopy you would run that would work with that. I do. Whatever. So this AIO is in, I'm sure, it is in a bind and fly that HDLRC sells. Whatever canopy is on that bind and fly will obviously work with this, but the canopies that we're used to using are not going to work with this location. The Goober canopy might work, though. But it's a little heavy and it's kind of fragile, so I don't really run that canopy on much of anything. Thank you for that feedback, Brent. Let me know as soon as one of those goes up in flames, if it does. Hopefully it never does, obviously. Render says, yes, I have a graveyard now to pull from. Perfect. Striker says, if it was actually a viable thing, I would build for people and have them pay like $20 extra to build it myself. And they give you the parts. I can tell you for certain that's not viable. Cloudhopper says, group name is Whoop. Awesome. Whoop Micro Drone Motor Rewinding Group. And so let's search for that. Come on, come on, come on. There it is. 100 members. Holy shit. How are there 100 people insane enough to rewind? Well, I guess it is just Whoops. Wow, that's 100 crazy people. Now 101. I'm not crazy. It's 100 crazy people. I'm 101, and I'm just going to steal all their good info. Hey, here's Cloudhopper. Yeah, I'm just going to be leaving this open, then I'm just going to scroll through this whole goddamn group and just steal all the good info. All right, let me do that. All right. WTF is a kilometer says, I'm banking on better runtime with the Tiny Whoop BT 3.0 300s. It'll be a month till I can weigh it. AliExpress is lame. Might be a few of these views I can toss it into. Yeah, you'll definitely get more runtime for sure. 2S will absolutely give you more runtime. Walter says, love you, dude. Thank you, brother. Frank Nicholas says, score the enamel, pull the enamel off. The removed windings might still be available. I didn't know you could pull it off. I thought it was like bonded to the copper. Very cool. Render says you can burn the enamel off with a lighter or other flame. There we go. That's how to do it. White Powder RX says, which Happy Model motors are the desirable ones? EX802 or the SE0802? There are benefits to each different one. There are Happy Model motors that are slightly lighter. There are Happy Model motors that are slightly more durable. So yeah, you're asking about the EX0802. The EX motor is the lightest Happy Model motor, but it's not as durable. The SE is more durable, but heavier. So yeah, it's all about what you want. Gary T says, can I ask a question? Absolutely. If you ask it without tagging me, the folks in chat who are awesome, great, brilliant people will more than likely answer you. If you want me to read your question and answer it, you're going to tag me by typing CiottiFPV, no spaces, into your chat comment. Striker says, a route that I had a lot of fun with, getting pretty okay, fixing, upgrading, making it your own. Striker also says, did a ton of research before I started. That's how I knew ESC wired. First, it was easy. Striker also says, if you can do your research, FPV will be hard, but you'll love it. If you can't, even worse. If you're old, FPV will suck for you. Juju says, it's a $1,200 ready-to-fly kit, and he said he was getting out, and they said I could fly it beforehand, but I do see your point, think getting into walk snail is pretty good. No. Yeah, I think walk snail is the best possible all-in-one kind of video solution. It's not the best at any one thing, but typically that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for one solution to cover everything, right? Like you're almost never going to find something that is the best at one thing. I'm going down a weird road here. Look, walk snail has awesome video quality. They have a super light setup for tiny whoops. It seems to be pretty reliable. It is piggybacked off of the DJI Vista setup, which is like super durable, super deep R&D cycle to that. I forget the name of the I forget like the in-house name for that system, but yeah, 03 system, it'll never be lightweight, so you'll never be able to build a tiny whoop with 03. You'll have to buy a whole different video system like Analog, for example, or HD0 or Walk Snail. Old school DJI Vista stuff, same deal. It's too heavy. You'll never have a tiny whoop with it. You'll have to buy a separate video system with it. HD0, it's just about the latency. So for racers, it's great, but for freestyle, for flying for fun, it doesn't have the same range. Oh, that's the other thing with Walksnail, it's great range. HD0 doesn't have as good range. It doesn't have anywhere near as good image quality. And then analog, which has the worst image quality, but is super light and super cheap, but it's, it looks like ass. So yeah, Walksnail has the most benefits from all of those different things, like the best sort of balance. So if you're gonna buy one video system and one video system alone, I think it has to be Walksnail. If you only ever want to fly 5-inch rigs, then the fact that Walksnail has a super lightweight setup doesn't matter to you, and now it's, that kind of shifts. But for somebody that's looking to get into FPV and have the full FPV experience of flying tiny whoops, flying 3-inch rigs, flying 5-inch rigs, flying freestyle, racing, flying for fun, flying around inside the house, outside the house, right? Walksnail's the way to go, for sure. For sure. Hockey Round says Clorox wipes to clean grass from the ducts. I just use rubbing alcohol. I just use IPA on either a toothbrush, or a minute ago I was using a microfiber, and it does an amazing job. I like that because it's just alcohol. Clorox wipes, God knows what's in there. There's probably bleach in there, and I don't want to put. I want to put as few chemicals onto these plastic ducts as possible, right, to keep them as strong as they can be. God forbid there's something in Clorox wipes that is not friendly with plastic, right? That could mess it up. I'm sure they work totally fine, but LOL the Kidison says, if the 2G4 survives this last crash despite being completely submerged underwater, it truly is indestructible. Yeah, the 2G4s are the closest thing to indestructible I've ever seen in tiny whoops in 7+ years of tiny whooping. Brandon Anderson says, clean up an enjoyable part of tiny whooping out. Do good time to go over the rig / Q-tips, dish a water drop of soap. I quit turtle moding and do the walk of shame to avoid heavy grass stains. Yeah, that's one way to get around it. It's just to stop turtle moding. Striker says, I realize now I'm overthinking things probably. Ciotti, Cucklebirds. Hitchhikers. Hockey Round says hitchhikers. Yeah, I've heard him called hitchhikers before. Notice says, I was under the impression that the red cat that's tied up with Unusual Machines is not the same red cat that makes RC cars and trucks, etc. Yeah, there are two different red cats. I don't know. I've lost track of it, and it just doesn't directly affect me, so I don't spend any time really dialing into it. Curtis Hayes says, looks like a sticker to me. Farts. YouTube just did the thing. I've also heard them called stickers. Notice says, I would buy a Teddy Spaghetti face sticker with your logo. That'd be pretty fun. Gary T just keeps asking me if I can help him. Gary T, you need to type CiottiFPV into your message and then ask me a question, and I'll read your message and I'll answer the question. I just happened to see your comment. But yeah, I will help you. You got to tag me and you got to ask me an actual question. Juju with a $5 super chat. He says, please let the dog eat. Thank you, Juju. I will buy him $5 worth of little doggy snacks. Gary T, it looks like you finally tagged me, but you just said help me. I don't know how to help you. You gotta ask a question, brother. I cannot read minds through the internet. I'm working on it, though. I am working on it. Kevin James with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much, brother. He says, dogs should be fine. This is to feed you and the family. Fair enough. Thank you, brother. Very much appreciated. Our trip to New York. Speaking of feeding me and the family, oh boy, yeah, our trip to New York was way. It was actually exactly as expensive as I thought it would be. Nobody else thought it would be that expensive. But yeah, I knew it was going to be as much. But yeah, much appreciated, man. Demo FPV says, is there a good AIO for 1S right now, or are we still waiting? The Mobula 6 2024 AIO seems pretty good. What I like about it is that it's lighter weight than the 2G4. It's not as trouble-free, and it doesn't seem like it's quite as durable as the 2G4. But it's pretty goddamn good. So if you're looking to build a tiny whoop right now, I would just build it with the new happymodel AIO. It seems to be pretty good. So yeah, I would not continue to wait, because I think you're going to be waiting a long time, if ever, for a better AIO than this one. I'm pretty sure this is what we got. This is what we're gonna get. So it's either the BetaFPV cross style AIO or the happymodel. What are they calling it? SuperX, I think. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think you're pretty safe to just buy that now, and it is what it is. Tiny whoops have never been super reliable. They are more reliable now than they ever have been. The 2G4 was just a crazy anomaly, and the 2G4 is significantly heavier than the new one, and that does make a difference. Like this ultra light rig, one of the reasons why it is so ultra light and it flies so good is because it's on the new AIO. So to some extent, just get it, and then like if it blows up or if it's not as good as the 2G4, it's like, well, you know, the 2G4 is like I don't know. It's a more reliable. It's like 2G4 is like a Ford Mustang. Great performance, reliable, cheap to fix. What does that have to do with anything? And then the new SuperX is a Ferrari. Better performance, but, you know, more stressed. You know what I'm saying? That's a weird analogy, but there you go. Juju says, is there a new Ultimate Freestyle build? Or is what's on Joshua's site still good and accurate? On Joshua's site, that has the 2G4 AIO, which is very hard, sort of impossible to find. Yeah, it's still really hard to get your hands on a Mobula 6 2024, and they seem to have discontinued maybe the version 1 with the direct soldered motors. So I don't know, like right now I don't think it is the time to update his website, because it feels like something might change again, and then we'll have to change it again. So we're just kind of waiting for things to shake out a little bit here before we make an update. But basically the update to his website is just going to be switching the old Mobula 6 bind and fly to the new Mobula 6 bind and fly. And then, so yeah, that kind of is what it is. Ibrahim says, best tiny whoop AIO for freestyle. No such thing as best, there's just different, first and foremost. I crashed my 2024 Mobula 6 and broke the AIO, so I was looking into F4 1S AIO or happymodel SuperX. Happymodel SuperX is way worse. I don't know what F4 1S AIO is. As we were just talking about, the Mobula 6 2024 is the best that we've got right now. If you can manage to find a happymodel 2G4 AIO, get it. That is a unicorn AIO. It was discontinued a while ago. It pops up from time to time on different websites. If you see it, grab it. But yeah, you've already got the best that there is. Tiny whoops are not reliable. They're tiny whoops have all of the same stuff inside of them, that 5-inch rigs have, and yet they're $100 instead of 300 or 400. So something's got to give, and it's reliability. And so yeah, it just sort of is what it is. I wish they were more reliable, but yeah, they're not. Thank you again, Kevin James, for the super generous super chat. JP Spin says, quick question for all the mind readers, ... Scotty Scott says, I have 5 SuperX AIOs, 2 with less than 20 batteries used on them, and 3 brand new. The 2 older ones had no video, and the other died altogether. Yeah, the Scotty Scott also says the new one has no video, and the other 2 won't connect the serial port to BetaFlight. Not sure what's up there. Yeah, this is what I keep hearing of the new Mobula 6 2024. I've had really good luck with mine, but my sample size of 2 is nowhere near big enough. Also, these were sent to me from happymodel. And something that, you know, a lot of content creators have always wondered about is, hey, when we get sent shit, are they cherry picking the stuff that's like, you know, passing quality control, or like they're hand built, or right? There's like, they do a run of, they do an initial, this is just speculation, right? But do they do a run of 100 where they really pay attention, and those are the ones that they send out for review? And then when they do the actual production run, they just, you know, turn the speed up on the machines by 600%, so that they can actually make some money. I don't know, but sometimes it feels like that. And so I rely on you guys to do exactly what Scotty Scott just did and tell me when you have this stuff blow up. But I also need you guys to tell me when they work, all right? So those of you that have Mobula 6 2024s that did not blow up, and you have battered the living shit out of for 100+ batteries, I need you to tell me that. I need you to tell chat that. And you need to be more vocal about it in general, right? Like, we are way more likely to, when we get screwed over, to go on the internet and don't buy the Mobula 6 2024. It's garbage. I bought one and it blew up after 100 batteries and me slamming it into 8,000 trees. Like, right? So when you have something that's working, don't just continue to enjoy it. Tell people that it's still working. There is a big mismatch there, right? Like, we always talk about the shit that sucks. We need to talk more about the stuff that works well. So keep doing that, friends. Ibrahim says, I have the 2G4 AIO, but the UFL connector came off, so I have no video. Is it possible to replace the UFL connector? Absolutely. Also, my previous chat, I was talking about the BetaFPV Cross AIO. Okay. BetaFPV Cross AIO is pretty good. It's not great, though. Lots of racers complain about it. It's what all the racers run. And there's loads of people that hate that AIO, too. So it's not like the end-all, be-all. But it's pretty good. I've got 4 of them in all of the walk snail rigs, and I haven't had any problems yet. I don't fly those walk snail rigs that much, and I also don't crash them that hard. But still, they don't all blow up out of the box, and I bought all of those. None of those were sent to me. So, yeah. UFL connector coming off. If it ripped the pads off, then you're going to have to direct... then your life is hell. If the pads are still there, you can try to put another UFL connector on there. Typically what I do in that scenario, though, is I direct solder the antenna. And what that looks like is this. I'm sure that there are YouTube videos on how to do it. Just search for, like, UFL connector broken. I'm certain that there's people that have fixed them. But this is my Mobula 6 2024 with the motor plugs that Jason from happymodel sent me. And my UFL broke off when I was chasing the drift cars. So what I did is I had one of these antennas that the UFL had ripped off. Yeah, this is not gonna focus close enough to really show this, but this is a direct soldered UFL. If you Google search and or YouTube search direct soldering UFL, fixing UFL, you will find tutorials on how to do this. It's not that hard. It's also not that easy, but it's totally doable. And then you end up with something like this. Your antenna is now hard mounted. This is a big blob of E6000 because I do not want it pulling on the solder joints. Solder does not have good physical, like mechanical properties. It's good at passing electricity. It's not good at holding this antenna on. So I've got this nice big blob of E6000 here, which is going to hold this antenna on. Because a lot of times when I crash in the RC drift car place, it'll pull the antenna up like this, and that's trying to rip the antenna off. So as you can see, the E6000 is doing all the work here. So yeah, that should be fixable as long as it didn't rip the pads off. If it did rip the pads off, you could technically scrape away and get to the traces and then try to solder to the traces, but boy oh boy is that a pain in the ass. And it's sometimes it won't even work, and it's just at that point I would personally bail. But the 2G4s are kind of hard to get a hold of, so yeah, that's a tough one. Render says, I took your advice, by the way, started running the Cockroach V3 and no more high throttle oscillations. I have 4 Mobula 6 2024 frames just waiting for a low KV build. Possible chase rigs. Nice. Yeah, the Cockroach 65 V3 is magic. Burdetta says, 2024 Eco is great and in stock at Tiny Whoop. I put a few dozen batteries in and had to replace a motor, but all good otherwise. There we go. Render says, I'm getting an analog brownout when I crash BetaFPV AIO, TBS Pro 32, Mobula 6 camera, canopy, Cockroach frame. Any ideas? I'm fresh out. If all the video goes away, replace the VTX. If just the camera video goes away and you still have OSD, replace the camera. Mick Mucus says, I think the old school canopy is a must on the 2024 Mobula 6. The G-string does not provide enough protection. I agree. All of my rigs are on the old school Mobula 6 canopies. When you pair these with the Runcam Nano 3, it's one of the lightest canopy and camera setups, but yeah, the main thing is it's just super durable. You've got adjustable up tilt. I think the Runcam Nano 3 is the best of the analog Tiny Whoop cameras, although I'm going to be testing that a little bit more soon, but yeah. Render says it's a mixed bag, but sometimes all the video I'll try a new VTX. Yeah, it sounds like it's the VTX. Ibrahim says, I only fly Tiny Whoops inside my house to use Ishin 800D goggles. If I was to upgrade my goggles still staying analog, which goggles would you recommend? It kind of depends. If you care about DVR, if you don't care about DVR, get a used set of Fat Sharks like the HD3s that I run, or the HDOs or the HDO2s. If you care about DVR, maybe get a set of SkyZone goggles. I don't know all the goggles. I don't get stuff for free from manufacturers. Joshua is your best resource of information for goggles. So yeah, start watching goggle review videos over on Joshua's channel if you care about DVR. The Fat Sharks have shitty old school DVR. The Sky Zones have better DVR. The HD0 goggles have the best possible DVR setup, but Jesus, are you going to spend an arm and a leg on those goggles? And if you're never going to run HD0, you're spending just an absurd amount of money for a set of analog goggles. So I can't really recommend those unless you're made of money. Michael W. Blade says, hello, and I'm caught up on chat. There we go. All right, cool. So we already talked about all the walk snail stuff. Let's dive in to the fleet review. This is the Jungle Gym Basher. This is a Mobula 7 1S ELRS that has been swapped over to the Tiny Whoop 0802 27,000 kV iGAO motors, which have a 1.5mm motor shaft, which is important for durability. And then I run the GemFan 1610 propellers. I've moved it over to BT 2.0. I love these little 180-degree connectors. And that's it. That is the ultimate 75mm jungle gym basher. You can fly this in the house, but it's awful heavy and it's awful powerful for that. This is for railing jungle gyms, and it is super fun. I took an old set of 30,000 kV 0802s that I had laying around, and I put the iGAO bells on them. And I head-to-head tested these two, and the 30,000 kV motors made just a tiny little bit more power. And so since I made these motors, I'm going to use them. So I'm actually going to pull this out. I'm going to start doing it now while we're talking about some of this other shit. I'm going to pull this out of these, out of this frame with these 27,000 kV, just like out of the box iGAO motors. And I am going to put it into this other frame with the 30,000s. But for you guys, don't do this. It is not worth spending $40 on a set of iGAO motors for the bells and then another $40 on 30,000 kV 0802s. The difference is minimal. You might not even be able to tell the difference. It was hard for me to tell the difference. But again, since I took the time and effort to make this 30,000 kV version of these motors, I might as well use the damn things, right? So I am going to be moving this Ultimate Jungle Gym Basher over to those motors. I am going to keep this frame like together though. One of the things that I like to do is buy a bunch of extra frames and then just store my extra motors in a frame. And then on a whim, if for whatever reason I want to test this set of motors, I've already got it in a frame. I can just pull the motor plugs like I just did, pull 4 screws, take the canopy and the AIO out of this frame, drop it into this frame, and away we go. These frames are what, $4 each, $5 each, $6 each? That's pretty cheap. Having a bunch of extra frames is great. When you break a frame, you don't have to order another one. You have one sitting around, away you go. So yeah, that is, previously I'd said that I was going to leave it on these 27,000 kV motors because I wanted to have a setup that's identical to what you guys could build. But I'm not just going to let these motors sit in a drawer. I'll use them, and yeah, it's whatever. It is what it is. So yeah, that's the analog Ultimate Jungle Gym Basher. And I also want to switch the antenna on this. I have a big heavy antenna on it right now. Speaking of antennas, the ORT Micro V, I think it's called, but the ORT antenna that you want for your tiny whoops is back in stock at RDQ. What is it called? I was right, Micro V. Yeah, this is the one, friends. This is the antenna. You can get it in either black or white. It's not right or left-hand circular polarized. It's basically like a linear antenna, but it's really lightweight. Get it with the 50mm, and yeah, enjoy. It's the best of the antennas in terms of durability and weight, and those are kind of the things. Those are the reasons to buy one antenna versus the other in Tiny Whoop land. So yeah, the two most important things that antenna has in spades. It also performs totally fine. I can't really say if it performs I doubt that it performs as good as the True RC Singularity, but it's less than half the cost, and it's got a long enough cable on it where the active element of the antenna is going to be up away from the AIO. The True RC Singularity antenna is really, really short, and it's kind of heavy, and with it being short like this, if you guys are the pilot and I'm flying this tiny whoop and I go like that, the head of the antenna is between your goggle antennas and a big thick piece of copper, the ground plane in this AIO. And in that scenario, your reception is dog shit. And you're going to rely on the bounce from the antenna. This micro V antenna, in that same scenario that we turn away, you still have direct line of sight on the antenna. You still have direct line of sight. So like in this scenario right here, this will probably give you slightly better image quality. But then right now, it will not. And this guy will give you much better quality. Much better, much better, much better, much better, much better, much better. And now finally the singularity will come ahead again. And so like, you know, in this, that's the problem. These singularity antennas are great, but they're so short that if you're going to fly... So like, for example, where I really notice this is flying upstairs. My antenna is here. If I'm flying down in the basement, everything is fine. Until I go like that, then it's not fine. But usually I'm going to spin right back around. So it's like good, 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 bad, 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 good, 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 right? But then when I would fly upstairs, that AIO is in the way the entire time. And that makes a massive difference. So it does kind of depend on where you're going to fly and how you're going to fly. I have put the singularity antennas on all of my RC drift car chasing rigs because I fly these super low to the ground and I'm standing up, and so my goggles are always like beaming straight down, and I'm never really like up like this. Like I never have a situation where I'm like this. I'm flying really flat chasing those guys. So these are perfect for these specific rigs. Thank God, because I have a whole bunch of these. But for freestyle, where you're rotating the quad all over the damn place, having the longer antenna sticking out like this is going to work a lot better. Yes, you can buy the True RC singularity antennas with a longer cable on them, but now they're even heavier. And weight matters a huge amount with tiny whoops. And so these micro V antennas are so lightweight, even at this longer length to have it up here, that they're just... They're amazing. They're really, really, really nice. And just like when you run that antenna, you just get better video. You get better video more of the time, is what I'm trying to say. Which way should I mount this frame? It really doesn't matter, but to make myself feel better, well, nope. There's a bigger gap at the rear, so I'll run it like this. Doesn't matter. It's not directional, but sometimes there's a bigger gap on one side, which makes it easier to fit these big chunky BT 2.0 leads through. And it looks like this side has a bigger... Yeah. This one side has a much bigger gap in it, so we'll put it here. Juju says, Getfpv has the elrs 2G4 receivers in stock, but they are in the Modula 6. To be really honest, $100 for a 2G4 AIO that comes with free, that comes with a free set of motors, a free frame, a free camera, a free canopy is a really good deal. The camera and canopy on a Modula 6, on an old school Modula 6 bind and fly, is the best one available. This Modula 7 frame has a post broken off. So I actually need to take these motors off of here. This frame is junk. That's super annoying, but kind of is what it is. So yeah, if I didn't have, well, I did at one point. At one point, I bought two Modula 6 elrs bind and flies just for the AIOs, and you should too. So there you go. If you're looking to build a tiny whoop right now and you want it to be, and your goal is more durability over lighter weight, do it. Go to Getfpv. Use my affiliate link if you don't mind, and buy yourself a Modula 6 elrs, an old school Modula 6 elrs. You'll get the best canopy. You'll get the best camera. You'll get the best AIO ever made for tiny whoops. Throw the frame away, replace it with a Cockroach V3. it'll probably come with 19,000 kV motors, which you're not going to throw away because the underground Whoop League guys run those motors. So sell those motors to someone that's running underground Whoop League, but throw the frame in the goddamn river. It's one of the worst frames. I mean, it's a very lightweight frame. The happymodel frame is very light, but if you run it, you'll break it like immediately. So get it out of there. And then yeah, replace the motors with like Tiny Whoop 0702 32,000s or 36,000s, or We Bleed 0702 32,000s or 40,000s if you have a death wish, or just get the 40,000s and motor limit them down. But you'll be really happy with 0702 32,000 kV motors and up. For most people that aren't total ninja insane pilots, 32,000 kV 0702s are going to be too much power, and you're going to have to motor limit them down a little bit. If you've really dedicated yourself to FPV and you're a couple of thousand batteries in, you might be okay running them full stank. But Tiny Whoops are really hard to fly in the house. Keep that in mind. You don't suck as a pilot. It's just really difficult. When you watch me fly around the house, you're watching someone that's probably 5,000 to 10,000 batteries into it. I wish I were exaggerating. This frame has been through hell. It is all chewed up. So, yeah, it deserved to die. I hate when they die from just those posts pulling out, though. It's such a shameful death, but it is a death nonetheless. All right, now that I've made a complete goddamn mess on the desk here, and I'm not going to take the time to bolt these motors back on. I'm going to do it after the stream. I have to get this stuff out of the way. Next up in the fleet, we're actually going to... Fuck, I forgot to charge some extra batteries up. I meant to charge another few batteries. Damn it. Let's put the Vifly Whoopster V2 up to 0.9 of an amp, and we will put a few batteries on here and see if it'll bring them up quick enough. I'm actually not going to... Well, we can fly this. We'll fly this on a 260 mAh battery and see what's up. See what kind of runtime we get. So this is a old school Ultimate Freestyle Tiny Whoop 2G4 AIO Runcam Nano 3 Mobula 6 canopy Cockroach 65 V3 frame. At the moment, it's on Gemfan 1219S propellers, because the motors are VCI 0702 28,000 kV? 29,000 kV. Anything below 30,000 kV, I just don't like it with the bi-blades. It just doesn't make enough power. These Gemfan 1219S tri-blades are awesome. They're significantly more durable than the HQ, I call them YOLO tri-blades. They also make more power than the HQ tri-blades. And again, at 29,000 kV, I want that extra power. ORT micro V antenna. I think that... So my main issue with these motors is that they are not very efficient. So I have a feeling that this poor little battery is about to get absolutely just ass beaten. It is at 4.3 volts though, so let's see what kind of runtime we get from these motors on this rig. Let me also weigh this rig. I am gonna fly this a little bit on these motors, but I'm not overly impressed with these motors, so I'm probably gonna put maybe 10 more batteries through them, and then that's it. And I'll pull these motors off. I have a bunch of other motors that I want to test. I think this rig is going to end up back on these prototype 0603s that we'll talk more about. This rig is 18.1 grams. That is about as light as it's going to get for the old school Ultimate Freestyle Tiny Whoop setup in the Cockroach 65 V3 frame. There's no real reason that I wouldn't move this over to the new Cockroach Light AF frame, other than this is the only one I have. So yeah, I could definitely save a little bit of weight by putting it into that frame, but I just haven't gotten any extra of those frames yet. I will, because I like them. So let's fly this a little bit. I'm just going to put this one battery through it because I have some other rigs that I want to talk about, and you know, I'll fly them after I talk about them and fuck around with the PIDs maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I can't believe I forgot to try. I really wanted to run this rig on a couple of 300 mAh batteries to try to figure out to just spend a little bit more time on these motors. But yeah, I've heard from a bunch of people that the efficiency is an issue on these motors, and that's been my experience too. So should be pretty. Oh balls! Shouldn't really need to dive too deep into these motors to give you guys a ton of feedback about them, because the whole, you know, the Happy Model 0702s are just absolute magic. Come on, elrs, you can do it. Oh, Teddy boy. Teddy. Oh my God, Teddy. All right, so these CIO 702s. With these props, they have decent power. Uh-oh. Let's do the throw that we do all the time here. This tune is also on the edge. One of the things I noticed with these motors, because I ran a bunch of batteries through these chasing the RC drift cars, is that they have a different different power delivery than the Happy Model motors. That's not a bad thing. It is for me because I'm so used to the Happy Model motors, but for anyone other than me, it's not a bad thing. But just something that I noticed. As you can see, they fly fine. I can still do all the things that I normally do. I'm doing them pretty accurately. Yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe the motor shafts are more durable than the Happy Model motors. If so, that would be a definite reason to get these. But the efficiency issue is, yeah. So I mean, you got to kind of weigh out what's more important to you, efficiency versus durability. I don't know that these motor shafts are more durable, but I have heard from some people that the Happy Model motor shafts are not as durable as they should be. The problem is the Happy Model motors make more power and are more efficient, and they're durable enough. And so I have a hard time not running them. Like, it's kind of insane to not run them. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's tough, man. The efficiency isn't that bad. We're at 2.5 minutes. I mean, it is ready to... I should... Yeah, this is done. 2 minutes and 40. But again, this is a 260 mAh battery. So, the usual 3-minute run times that we get are out the window. Because it's a smaller battery. It's a lighter battery. So yeah, don't let that turn you off. I don't know. These motors seem fine. The rest of the batteries that I run in these motors are going to be 300s. And yeah, I don't know. They're not bad, but they just don't do anything better other than maybe the durability of the motor shafts, which does matter, but it's just not enough. You know what I mean? if you're doing an order from a website and you need a set of 0702s, nothing wrong with them. But yeah, I'm sticking with Happy Model motors. But yeah, that's this rig. More batteries to be flown on it. Micro V antenna works amazing. 18.1 grams, nice and light. These 260 mAh batteries are pretty damn good. I had on lower kV setups. I'm impressed by these. The Tiny Whoop 260s I ran when they first came out, and they don't work. They don't work on the crazy kV setups. They sag too much. But now that we've got some of these lighter weight rigs, yeah, they're okay. So I'll have to revisit them. This guy. This is one of the RC Drift Car Chasing rigs that is currently on Tiny Whoop 0603 30,000 kV prototype motors with the HQ YOLO props. These motors are heavy. They are really interesting motors, but they're heavy. And I've spent a bunch of time with them. And I can't get over the extra weight. If you're going to build a 65 millimeter rig for like a warehouse or for flying outside, these motors would be awesome if Tiny Whoop ever decided to come out with them, because like I said, these are prototypes. But yeah, I don't know. 603. All right, so let's dive into these motors. 603 is what these motors are marked. A few people have measured the stator on these. So these are Happy Model 603s. A couple of people have measured the stator poles on Happy Model 603s and found that they are actually 703s. I don't know about that. They're definitely heavier than 702s, but they're not that much heavier. And and they definitely make more power and have more grunt than 702s, but I don't know, man. They perform like a 603 should, is what I can say. They don't make quite as much power as an 802. They make more power than a 702. And when you do the cylinder volume, that's correct. The 702 is the smallest stator volume. 603 is one step up. 802 is another step up. If they were a 703, they would be a more. They would have more stator volume than an 802, and that is not. They don't feel like that. They don't fly like that. What's cool about these motors is they're kind of like the 2207 of the Tiny Whoop world, in that it's a taller motor, but it's narrow. We're just gonna assume that it's actually a 603 because that's how it's marked, right? And so 6 millimeters wide is the narrowest, right? We've got 702s, we've got 802s, and we've got 603s. So they're narrower, but then they're taller. By being narrower, the magnets are closer in. So the moment of inertia is lower. In the same way that 2207s, 22 instead of 23, the magnets are in tighter. And 2207 instead of 2306, that stator height makes more power. So basically these 603s, they're on here, these 603s, the response time is incredible. Great power, great response time. They're basically like the response time kings of all of these Tiny Whoop motors. The problem is we don't need that extra response time. The 702s, they do everything. They're the lightest. They give plenty of power, plenty of response time, and so like these 603s are really really cool, but they kind of solve a problem that doesn't exist, and they're heavier. The 702s are so light, and it really does make a difference, and like that dominates like all. If you were to make like a priority list of like all the different like lightweight, power production, efficiency, response time, and if you were to prioritize those things, weight for tiny whoops should almost always be on the top of the list. So the fact that the 702s are lighter, they just become the best motor for like 99% of people if they're willing to get a high KV version of it and run them. So yeah, I'd put these 603s onto this RC car chasing rig to kind of test the theory of like, is there something about better response time that will make it easier for me to stay on these guys' doors? And the answer is no, because of the weight, because they're heavier. What I've noticed when chasing the RC drift cars is weight is everything. The lighter the build, the easier it is for me to stay with them. They have tires that touch the physical ground and grip the physical ground. We are floating through the fucking air. The hardest thing to do is to change directions with them and stay with them. And so any extra weight that you've got messes that up, and it makes it more difficult. So these motors are coming off of here, and this rig is going to become my low KV build. The next, so that this most recently I did a whole I chased those guys around for probably 3 or 4 Thursday nights with all 3 of these rigs. One of them on 702 36,000s to see if lightweight big power was the way. One of them on 702 30,000s, and then the 603 30,000. And both of these 702 rigs dominated and were just way, way, way better in terms of keeping with those guys than this 603 rig. So this rig is going to get 702 28,000 kV motors to see if throttle resolution and low power is the way. I don't think it is, because Throttle Expo really takes care of the throttle resolution problem. But so I think that the 36,000 and so far the 36,000 kV 0702 rig is the best. It's got the lightweight motors. It's got a whole bunch of power at full throttle when I need it, which allows me to do like crazy shit, like jump over the car, do dives, do all kinds of wacky stuff. And I just have a shitload of Throttle Expo on there, which fixes the throttle resolution problem. So I have no problem flying the damn thing 2 millimeters off the carpet. But I'm also doing some camera testing with these 3 rigs. So it's cool. I can test cameras and I can test the high KV versus low KV all at the same time, and that's pretty cool. So yeah, these 603s are coming off here, and I think that I'm gonna put them on. I think once I'm done testing these VCI motors, I'm gonna put them onto this guy for some freestyle jams, because I don't know. It'd be cool to have, they make great power, and it'll be another little adventure into what's the best freestyle motor. It won't be the best, it'll just be different, but still, nothing wrong with that. So yeah, these motors are now unplugged. I'm gonna put this on a pile of the motors that are going onto it, and we can move on. Let me actually get caught up on chat a little bit. CBFPV says, I'm going to make a purchase from AliExpress soon. When we fix your affiliate link, I can hold off for a couple of days. I have a tab opened. I might be able to fix it right now. I have a tab opened with it. Sign in. Hopefully my... I don't remember what my sign in is. Hopefully it's one of the normal passwords. Is that it? Please slide to verify. What the hell does that mean? Email already exists. Well, yeah, I'm trying to log in. Dipshits. What? Let me... What the fuck? Do I really have to... Oh, AliExpress. Oh, I'm gonna light you on fire. Can you enough with the pop-ups? Jesus Christ. Well, apparently I'm signed in now. That was the strangest thing. You guys can watch me do this. I'm sure there's nothing interesting. How do I get my... Is that it? Wait, maybe it's in here. Oh my god. Alright, I'm gonna pull this tab out so that I don't... Oh, awesome. Since this is pulled out here, I will check it after the stream. I'll do it tonight. Render says, update, the VTX issue was in fact the camera. Thank God. VTX is hard to come by at a decent price right now. Awesome, dude. Glad you got it figured out. Hockey Round says, I wonder if the power delivery difference between the motors has something to do with the delta WIE winding. Could be. Could be. That's interesting. CMYK says, oh my. What's up, homie? Double A says, you're flying 1S, right? Yep. Well, on the analog stuff, yes, 1S. I do have a... At the beginning of the stream, I played some footage from a 2S 75mm walk snail carrying build. But yeah, everything else is 1S. Juju says, make a $200 a month Patreon. I think the highest one I have is 100, and then you can just if you wanted to do 200 a month, you just change the number. I think I have one that's 100, right? Can I not see my own thing? What the hell? Oh no, I have to click there. No. How do I see my own tiers? Yeah. I have FPV Hero at 100 a month, and then you can always... Hey, just so you guys know, you can like so. For example, right? If you only fly Tiny Whoops, right? And so you want to join my $5 a month Tiny Whoop tier so that you get on the giveaways at the beginning of every month. If you decide like, hey man, Ciotti's really working hard, I want to give him $10 a month, you can do that. You don't have to go to the $10 tier. You can stay on the $5 Tiny Whoop tier and then just change your donation amount. Just log into Patreon and you'll see. You can manually type in whatever donation amount you want. So yeah, you can do that. You can't go down, obviously. But yeah, if you want to do $6 a month instead of $5 a month, you can do that. You can just change the number. So yeah, that's something that not many people know. And so if somebody genuinely wants to do $200 a month, do the FPV Hero, and then you could just type in the higher amount. I didn't know that there were 2 people on that tier. Jesus. Oh, yes I did. Yes I did. You people have lost your minds, and I love it. JP Spin says, just a heads up, looks like Pyro Drone has the Mobula 6 2024 in stock. Nice. So Getfpv has the old school one in stock. Pyro Drone has the new school one in stock. The old school one is a little bit heavier but more durable. The new school one is lighter, and it seems to be a little bit less durable, but it's still early days. Cole Power says, with great power comes great response time. Hell yeah. Stephen White says, what was your first FPV quad? It was an Emax Baby Hawk, the original white plastic one. Zachary says, have my remote bound to my Mobula, but the roll and pitch are off. What is the receiver channel order I should be using on the remote? There's no channel that you should be using. There's just the order that is on the transmitter. There's only 3 though. There's AETR, there's TAER, and I forget the other one is. Don't change it on the transmitter, just change it in the receiver tab and you'll be good. Go into the receiver tab, there's 3 different options. Click one option. If the bars aren't reading out properly for the sticks, change it to the second option. If they're still not reading right, check it to the third option. One of those 3 is going to be correct, and then away you go. Typically, it's either AETR or TAER. So whichever one of those that you're on, switch it to the other, and it'll probably be fine. That'll probably fix it, I should say. CMYK, drop in the CiottiFPV.com link. Thank you, brother. Okay, so this is the lightest drift car chasing rig because it has the Mobula 6 2024 version 2 plug-based AIO on it. As an example, these 2 rigs are completely identical. They have a different camera, but the camera has the same size lens. This is on the 2G4. This is not. Same antennas, similar battery lead setups. Yeah, these are pretty much identical. Here's the difference in weight. 2G4 based build, 18.75 grams. Mobula 6 2024 based build, 18.49 grams, 18.5 grams. So 18.5 versus 18.7. Yeah, nothing's different between these 2. Not much of a difference, but a difference nonetheless. Yeah. Between these 2 rigs, 36,000 kV 0702s, 30,000 kV 702s, ultra throttle resolution, ultra power. Yeah, I gotta fly these more back to back. Up until a day or 2 ago, one of these had the Caddx Ant camera in it. This one had the Caddx Ant camera in it, and the video looks so bad that it's hard to even evaluate the damn thing. But yeah, next time I think I'm gonna go tomorrow night to chase those guys around, so I'll learn a little bit more. No real reason for me to fly these around here. They're not freestyle rigs. I don't want to crash them very much to beat the motors up. So yeah, we're not gonna fly these. But I wanted to at least go down the rabbit hole with you and yeah, talk about what I've been doing lately with testing some of the other stuff that I don't talk about a lot because I don't fly them on the stream. I don't talk about them too much, right? This is the coolest rig ever. Let's fly it. We're going to fly this a little bit. So this is the version 1 direct soldered Mobula 6 2024 that I have now like fully upgraded. It's still on the same motors. It's on a fresh set of motors. It's got the GemFan 1219S propellers, which you should definitely pair with these motors. And then I've got the old school Mobula 6 canopy with the Runcam Nano 3, the whip antenna that I removed the ground plane from for pretty much like the lightest weight antenna you could run, and then BT 2.0 and the Newbie Drone Light AF frame. This is stupidly lightweight. It is, come on, 16.4 grams dry. And then I'm going to run these last 260 mAh batteries, which are significantly lighter. 7.1 grams versus the 300s, which are 8.6 grams. So for all intents and purposes, we have removed another 1.5 grams from this rig. So this rig is going to perform as if it is 15 grams on the nose. If I was running a 300 mAh battery on it, this thing is going to perform like it's a 15 gram build for these two batteries. And then we're going to run a 300 mAh battery because they're almost ready to go. So let's do it. Transmitter, goggles, and away we go. WTF says, when can you talk about BetaFPV's new whoop? They have pushed back the release date, and there is no new release date. So, no idea, unfortunately. But you're not even supposed to know that BetaFPV has a new whoop. You did not hear that from me. Although, I did see that somebody on YouTube must not have been paying attention to the messages and the emails that BetaFPV sent out, and he put his review up last night. I was like, oh, there's somebody that's never going to get another BetaFPV review product. I actually meant to message him, but then I fell asleep. And tell him, yo, pull that shit, bro. Pull that shit down. I don't remember who it was. It was somebody I hadn't heard of before. Hey, there we go. Look at that handsome dog. Oh! 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 Hey! 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 Look at that fluff blowing in the wind. Ow! I just rocketed it right into my arm. My God, the performance of this rig at this weight, it just... Alright, so as rigs get lighter and lighter and lighter, they move more slowly through the air. And with tiny whoops, Jesus, does that help. Like, everything is happening so fast with a tiny whoop that if you can slow things down a little bit... Oh, the mother of all mirror flips. It really helps. And that is kind of the one thing that... One of the main things that I really notice with this is that... yeah, it just gives you a little bit more time. But it still has great power. And great throw. I'm so impressed with this thing, even more so with these batteries. If you can get your hands on a direct solder Mobula 6 2024, do this build, man. And get some of these 260 mAh batteries. BetaFPV just came out with these. These are the Lava 260s. But, I mean, they're just a BT 2.0 folded cell 260, which Tiny Whoop came out with, like, a year ago. So, yeah, you don't have to buy these Lavas. They're probably the exact same battery as the Tiny Whoop, so... Whoa, that was a big hit. This thing, though, Jesus. Come on. Crash Recovery, help me! Crash Recovery was just freaking the fuck out, for the record. I would have recovered that crash, but I was, like, locked out, basically. I think I missed that gate. Hey! Oh, come on now. I'm all discombobulated! Hey! Yeah, like, this thing is so light that I have to change to change the way that I fly a little bit. I'm really dialed in with rigs that are about 18 grams all up. Oh, that's in the little side basket thing. Oh, sorry, buddy. Did I just roll over your little paw? Oh, I'm so sorry. I just heard a tiny little yelp. I'm sorry, buddy. You gotta be careful sitting back there, homie. Alright? Be careful. I love you. Poor little buddy. That was way down there. Yeah, this thing is unbelievable. And man, these batteries are a perfect match. These batteries on the high kV motors, the runtime comes down and they sag like crazy. These are these 28,000 kV 702s, I think, maybe 29,000, and they're just like low kV enough. And so like these batteries paired with this ultralight setup are just awesome. Look at that runtime, 3 minutes and 10, 3 minutes and 14. Like that is great runtime for a build like this. So yeah, if you can find one of these direct solder rigs, this is pretty cool. You know, the direct solder thing is annoying as hell, but like with how light this thing is, you're probably gonna get away with it. And you're probably not gonna have, I don't know. I can't speak to the durability issues. I'm already on my second set of motors, but there's a strange little moment of mid-throttle oscillation that this rig has always had that I've heard from some other people that have Mobula 6 2024s. It's not that bad. I thought it was the motors. I replaced these with a fresh set and it didn't fix it. So I think that from a durability standpoint, this direct soldered build is actually kind of fine because it's so lightweight. So yeah. Here we go. Let's go upstairs, actually. It's a little dark up here. It's not too bad. So, up here, this setup... Oh, shit, that was a big hit. Upstairs here, this setup is not going to be as good as it is in the basement. The basement is really tight. This is relatively big. These are like 18-foot ceilings, I think. Upstairs is the domain of the ultimate freestyle tiny whoop. It's still got enough power to move around just fine, but the extra power and mass of the higher kV, heavier rigs does feel a little bit better up here. And I'm having a hard time throwing it into that gate. There we go. Didn't go through the bottom, but I'm also getting a bunch of weird shit going on in the camera. There we go. That's what I was trying to do. Ah! Favorite way to hit this gate, though, hands down, is this. God, that is just so cool. And it's just, like, it's not easy, but it's, like, doable. Just fly up the stairs, a little bit of right roll, a little bit of backwards pitch. And away we go. Oh, shit! Don't go in the sink, please. Thank you. We got it in there once. Good. In the line. Hey, easy. Shit. See the mid-throttle oscillation every once in a while? When I start moving the throttle up and down slowly to just kind of cruise it around, you'll catch it. Well, maybe. I mean, I can see it in the goggles. I don't know, the VRX and the YouTube compression and all that shit might make it so you can't really see it, but it's there every once in a while. I'm trying to bring it out now. I'm like specifically moving the throttle up and down. Oh boy. This camera's acting a little weird. You see that right there? There's some flickering. There's flickering as well. Shit. Oh, great. I'm inside of it. Get me out of here. Hey, 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 easy. This little battery, man. 260 on this rig. Good match. I'm being as gentle on these batteries as I possibly can, though. I'm gonna bring it in right now. Yeah, there we go. 3 minutes and 22. A bunch of that was just kind of cruising around, though. Yeah, really good stuff. These 260s are a perfect match for these ultra lightweight builds. I dig it. Thank you, BetaFPV, for making these 260s. Even though they're not new, they're still I don't know, words. Words go here. All right, here we go. Moving to a 300 mAh battery on the same rig. So we're now going 1.5 grams heavier, and you're going to see the runtime go bananas. But still, this rig is kind of better suited for the 260s. These 300 mAh batteries are good for the ultimate freestyle rigs on the 2G4 boards that are a little bit heavier. Yeah, this build really pairs well with the 260s, but oh my god, this is still plenty lightweight. And you see the PID tune kind of freaking out? It wasn't doing that on the 260s. This 300 mAh battery is absolutely sagging less. Watch, when I go upstairs, I'll be able to feel the difference. I don't know if you guys will be able to tell the difference, but whoa. See, yeah, no, you can tell. There's this, yeah. The 300 mAh battery, it just hammers. Less sag, which ends up with more power. So for flying up here, I would rather have this battery. But for flying in the basement, I really like that little 260. Yeah, there's an immediacy and like a razor sharpness with this, with the throttle. On this 300 mAh battery. Ah, shit. Come on. Yeah, it was not hauling around the room that... Oh, Jesus. That nicely with the small battery. Ooh, that was a weird little thing. Oh, I forgot. The other really cool way to use this gate is to come over here and just blast up through it. Man, you can barely tell what I did over here. See that? That's cool. I like that a lot, actually. Oh, shit. Get out of there. Oh! Went out the side. That was cool. The problem with diving it is this part of the ceiling is kind of in the way. Like, I need to, like, wait and then throw it, and see, I keep hitting the ceiling. Like, I want to throw it up higher to get more time to line up the dive, but I can't because the ceiling is there. God, and then when I come down, it keeps wanting to... The railing keeps wanting to eat me. That's why, like, this gate, the hot move is just this. Although, I can't even hit that all of a sudden. Hey, easy! Come on now. Don't be like that. Oh, just laying it out. Oh, you're kidding. No. Get me out. Ah! I'm hitting everything. You see that little... See the jello? So I can bring the jello out. No. It happens at really random times. It's super weird. But yeah, and look at the... Oh, for fuck's sake. Even though we were doing all that full throttle shit upstairs, the runtime is still... the runtime's like coming up on 3 minutes and 40. But this battery is done. Those 260 mAh batteries are absolutely fresh, by the way. This is a 300 mAh battery. It's been cycled a bunch. Micro PP with 10 PLNs. Thank you, brother. He says cheers. Thank you, dude. Very, very cool of you. Come on. There we go. All right. So I've got... one more. Oh, I wanted to fly the VCI rig. Yeah. VCI rig. Although, hold on. Let's, all right, so we're done talking about this rig. Micro PP, thank you again. Done talking about this, flying this. Really, really cool. I still cannot believe that this is so lightweight. Last rig that I wanted to talk about tonight is the 1S walk snail 75 millimeter build, which I am going to be switching motors on again. I'm going to charge every single 450 and 550 mAh 1S battery that I have and fly it on this with the current motors, which are the VCI 0802.8, 0803, 27,000 kV? 27 or 29? 27,000 kV. These motors have been great on here. They make great power and they're very lightweight. The problem is efficiency. I've never gotten more than 2 minutes on a 450 mAh 1S battery. You can get like 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes and 40 seconds on the 550 mAh 1S batteries, but they are heavy. So for this 1S rig, it has to stay lightweight. And yeah, so I'm gonna run these motors a bunch just so that I really get the feel for them. And then I'm gonna change it all the way to the BetaFPV 1102 22,000 kV motors that I have in this frame here, same exact frame. And then I'm also going to run this rig again on the RC and Power 1002 22,000s. This rig is going to stay together. I'd kind of thought about maybe pulling this apart, but no, I want to have a 1S 75 millimeter walk snail build. Super lightweight. As quiet as possible. The 2S rig I can already tell is louder because it makes a bunch more power. But yeah, I think I am going to keep this together. I just need to figure out the right motor for it. The BetaFPV 1102s are the heaviest of these three motor options, but for some reason last time I tested them, they were more efficient and made more power than the RC and Power 1002 22,000s. The problem I was having with them though was jello, and but after talking to Gruss FPV from Rotor Riot, he's getting jello with all the different walk snail 1S motors, and so maybe I was being too hard on these. So I want to retest them. I want to go back down this rabbit hole on the 1S walk snail rig and retest. All three of these motors are pretty good. But I want to pick my favorites. I really want to nail down which of these three motors I like best on this rig. So yeah, that's coming. I've had this sitting here stacked up like this for a little bit now. It's the rig, and then it's the 1002s and the 1102s. So I'm going to fly a whole bunch of batteries in the VCIs, then a whole bunch of batteries in the 1102s, a whole bunch of batteries in the 1002s. I wish I could head-to-head test them, but those days are over. I did the initial testing on this head-to-head, and it was great. And I kind of settled on the RC and Power 1002s. But I'm worried that the BetaFPV 1102s, I flew them on a really bright day, and maybe that made the situation worse. I don't know. I want to revisit it one more time to make sure that I'm totally dialed in. I've left this thing on the VCI motors because they're the lightest and they make good power at 27,000 kV. But yeah, I don't know. They're only a 1mm motor shaft, which scares the hell out of me. I feel like I'm going to break them, but they've been okay so far. That's why I want to fly a whole bunch of batteries on this, because I want to put a bunch of crashes into this and see how these motors hold up in terms of durability. So yeah, that's coming as well. Not going to make any changes yet, though, because I only have 4 or 5 batteries through those VCI motors, and that's nowhere near enough. Cool. That's the full fleet review, discussion, dialing in. I'm like mechanically dialing in a bunch of these by switching motors. Let's fly these VCI 0702 29,000s on 300 mAh batteries. Because on the 270s it was okay, but yeah, they come alive a little bit on the... this rig is also not ultra lightweight. This rig is basically not light enough weight for those 260s to make sense. So yeah, let's put a couple more batteries through these VCI 0702 29,000 kV motors with GemFan 1219S tri-blades, and see if maybe there's some magic to these motors. And then we'll wrap things up. Wow, I didn't realize it was that late. Render says, I never had Jello with BetaFPV 1102s and tri-blades, but they're so fragile it feels like that was on 1S, not 2S. Yeah, Jello also depends on time of day and whatnot. The brighter it is out, the worse the Jello is going to be. Jesus. All right, so VCI 702s. Let's get up here. Oh, wow, I went through the... I got very lucky there. I misjudged it, but it went through the... it went through the things, I think. So, yeah, these things come alive on the 300 mAh batteries for sure. Okay. Oh, but... like I said before, there's nothing wrong with these motors. But the happymodel motors are more efficient, and you can get them in higher KVs. Oh god, I didn't need to disarm. Wow, that was a hell of a save. Nope. Oh my god! Oh, that's... That was stuck in a weird spot. Oh, shit, I caught the lip. Oh, that proximity! Oh, shit, that's going to go behind the CV, isn't it? Nope. Oh, shit. Come on. Yeah, man, I don't really know. Can't think of a lot of other shit to say about these motors. I think that, again, like I said before, the main area where these motors might come alive is durability. But you got to fly a lot. Like, I would love to hear from a racer, but the racers are not going to run these motors because of the efficiency. See, I just don't know. That was all full throttle there. If you need motors and you're ordering from a website that has these, snag them. Unless you're super concerned about runtime. Because look, this is a 300 mAh battery, and like, yes, I was hammering on this thing a bunch, but we are at 2.5 minutes, and it's already starting to give me low battery warnings. But as you can see, they fly great, and they have decent power. 2 minutes and 48, that's a little low, especially on this KV. You know, we get over 3 minutes on like 36,000 KV motors. So yeah, I would expect more runtime on this lower KV motor. They make good power. I mean, they're fine. Let me spin them up in turtle mode real quick. See if maybe one of them's starting to get bent up. Let's see. So, turtle mode, arm. Nope, I did it too early. There we go. All right, let's see. Well, the props are starting to get banged up, so this is kind of tough. But the front right motor is definitely vibrating more than the rest. Nice notice. Yeah, the right one is definitely vibrating a little bit harder than the rest, but it could totally be the propeller. Sometimes I can see the propeller kind of wiggling around. Nah, in this case I can't. Yeah, I would need to swap the propeller out to really kind of confirm that. Instead, we're just going to fly another battery and then stop live streaming. Hey. I'm starting to see a little bit of jello, so I think we do have a banged up propeller. Oh, God. You guys seeing that jello, too? Oh, God, Teddy. Don't stand there, buddy. Yeah. Come on with it. Come on with it, dog. Come on with it. Oh, chase me longer than that. What kind of shit is this? All right, come on with it, buddy. Come on with it. Come on with it. Teddy. Chase it. It's a balance of like wanting to get good footage from him, but also not wanting to put it into his beard and get it stuck in his beard because I'm afraid that he'll hate it forever. But man, I want to get a good run of him backing up with it. Come on, you coward! Oh no, get out of there. See the jello there? It was very obvious on that one. Oh! Come on. What you know about that? Yeah, motherfuckers! As you can see, even with motors that aren't the absolute best, you can do all the sick shit. Nothing wrong with these motors, though. Ah! Oh, God! Oh, no. Oh! You couldn't even see what just happened, but okay. Hi, buddy. Oh, it just grazed the ceiling. Holy shit, that was cool. Oh, I missed it. Oh! Oh my God! No, I'm not gonna take it. I really wanted to take it off there, but there's like memory cards over there, and they might get blown away, and then you can't find them, and blah 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 blah. Oh! I really fired it at the dive gate, not expecting it to go in there, but it did. Oh, hi, buddy. Oh, God. Oh, sorry, buddy. I mean, he is good about backing off and, like, not letting it hit him in the face. Yeah, dog. That's what I'm talking about. Come on, buddy. Woo, I got a little close to that one. Oh, buddy. Oh, shit. All right, hold on. Let's get it unstuck. There we go. Come on, buddy. Come and get some. Jello and all. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. I was flying good. Oh, my God. I'm hitting everything. Good time to stop flying. 4 minutes and 1 second. Okay, so, I mean, a bunch of kind of screwing around. But, yeah, not bad. June Lucas says, you have to say, get it, boy. Notice says, thanks for everything. Happy Treason Day, you ungrateful colonists. Oh, yeah, I guess it's the 4th of July now, isn't it? Yep, here in the Eastern time zone, it's the 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, friends. I will not be streaming more than what you're seeing right now. Thanks for hanging. Thanks for the support. I love you guys. Be good. If you have a couple extra bucks, join my Patreon. It'll mean an awful lot to me, and it'll keep us going forever. I love you. Bye. I'm not ready. So yeah, there you go. And there was the ORT antenna. Did you guys notice any difference upstairs versus the other rig that I was flying, which was not on an ORT antenna? When I was flying the ultralight rig, I was on the worst possible antenna. And then when I was flying the VCI rig, I was on the ORT antenna. Could you tell a difference upstairs? I can't because I'm on rapid fire, but you guys are on a single antenna $20 receiver that feeds into USB. So maybe you could tell a difference. Stephen White says, awesome flights. Thanks for all the helpful videos, man. You're certainly welcome. I'm going to play the 2S flight footage again for the outro here. So this is the Walksnail 2S 75mm rig on 60% throttle cut at the beginning, 70% throttle cut at the end. You'll see me land for a little while. I'll fast forward it. Tiny Whoop 300 mAh battery, which was not fully charged. I forgot to mention this at the beginning. This battery was not fully charged for the flight, so the runtime was down a little bit. Here you go. I'm tired. See you guys Friday at 7. There's a chance that I won't see you Friday. There might not be a live stream on Friday. If there's no live stream on Friday, there will be a live stream on Sunday. If there is a live stream on Friday, there will not be a live stream on Sunday. I'll let you guys know on Discord and here on YouTube. Love you, bye!